You live here rent-free, my son-in-law said. $1,655 a month or find somewhere else. My daughter looked away. I smiled, opened my folder, and said, let's talk about whose name is on that deed. My wife passed 2 years ago. Breast cancer, 9 weeks start to finish. She was 61. We'd been married 34 years and had a list on the fridge. Places we were going to drive when she retired. Peggy's Cove, Lunenburg, Gromorn. I took that list when I sold the house. My daughter is our only child. A few months after the funeral, she called and said she didn't like the idea of me rattling around alone. What did I think about moving closer? I wasn't tricked, not entirely. I was lonely and grieving, and she was offering something that felt like family. I chose to move in. I chose to put my name on that deed. We worked out an arrangement through a financial advisor, her husband's advisor. Their mortgage had a gap of about $180,000. I put in $210,000. My name on the deed at 40%. The lower level my living space. No formal agreement beyond the deed. Her husband said paperwork between family was insulting. I thought that was strange. First year was fine. Coffee in the mornings. Being useful helped with the grief. Second year was different. A deal closed and he bought a new truck. Then renovation talk, expanding the kitchen, converting the office. I sat in on early meetings because it was my house too. Then the contractor came for a walkthrough and I hadn't been invited. He said they'd fill me in later. They did, just not about everything. A letter came from the mortgage lender. Congratulations on the approval of your refinancing application. $80,000. I set it on the counter and waited. When he got home, I asked about it. Good rate, he said. Renovation will add value. I pointed out that I owned 40% of the property and that borrowing against it without my knowledge was something I might have thoughts about. He said he assumed I wouldn't mind since I was living there rent-free. First time he'd used that phrase. I wrote it down. I called my brother that night. He said, they can't refinance without your signature on a co-owner consent form. So how did they? I'd already looked up a real estate lawyer. She requested the mortgage documents. Co-owner consent form came back with my name, my date of birth, my address, not my signature. She had a document examiner look at it. He agreed. Letter forms were close, but not right. Copied, not written. She asked how I wanted to proceed. Do what you think is right, I said. She told me the letter she'd send would not be a quiet one. I said nothing to either of them. Agreed to pay $300 a month toward utilities. Framed it as goodwill. He accepted with a magnanimity I found impressive. He really believed he was winning. The day the letter reached the house, I was in the backyard. Heard the truck. Heard him go inside. Heard a chair scrape. Waited, then walked in. He was at the island holding the letter. My daughter at the table, not looking at me, looking at the floor. Same face she made at 15 when she'd gone along with something she knew was wrong and decided the only way through was forward. You hired a lawyer, he said. I did, I said. He put the letter down. We can work this out, he said, as a family. I told him I was open to that. My lawyer would be glad to join any family conversation, and the first step would be placing the refinancing proceeds in trust while we sorted the co-ownership question. He said that would affect their credit. I said I understood. Then I went downstairs and made dinner. The legal process took 4 months. The document examiner's report came in January. Signature on the consent form was not consistent with my genuine signatures across multiple verified documents. The lender moved quickly once its own liability came into focus. Refinancing restructured. Co-ownership formally recognized. Funds already spent on the renovation covered through a repayment plan. His, not mine. My lawyer also drafted the co-ownership agreement we should have signed 2 years prior. The one that spelled out what 40% actually meant. I signed it. Then I gave my notice, not out of anger. A corner unit had come available in Burlington, 8th floor, 15 minutes from my brother. Somewhere in those 4 months, I'd figured out what I wanted. A home that was entirely mine. I told my daughter first. Sunday morning, before I said a word to him, she sat with it, then asked if she could help me move. I told her I'd like that. He was still at the island that evening when I walked through. Letter still there. I didn't say anything else. 31 years adjusting claims taught me one thing. Write it down. Keep the folder. Not because you don't trust your family. Because you do. Because what we do in trust is what we most need to look at clearly when trust gets complicated by money and grief and the pressure that builds in a shared house over time. The folder said everything. Full story on the channel linked below.